Let's talk today about your worst financial decision, or at least my worst financial decision. Mine could have been a lot of things. Could have been buying a house in the Alberta market back in 07, 08, right at the top of the market. Going through a divorce separation with my ex and having to end up selling that same property for like a $35,000 loss. That was pretty bad. But there was one mistake, one decision that I made really early on, and it came back to haunt me over and over and over and over again. So back when I was 17, my dad bought me my first vehicle. It was an 81 Mustang. I was still in high school, and he bought both my sisters their first vehicles as well, but I had a paid for vehicle. I didn't have any payments. 2 years later, that car's engine went on it, and I was fortunate enough that my dad bought me a second car. It was my oldest sister's car. It was a 4-door Dodge Shadow. Had nothing wrong with it, and again, I had no payments. So I drove that car for maybe a year or two, and at the time I was a laborer for a construction company, a road building company. And one of the guys I work with got a brand new truck. Not a brand new truck, but he got a new truck, and I got sucked in, and I wanted to try and keep up with the Joneses, and I wanted a fancy truck too. So I thought I made more than enough money. I was making, around $3,000 a month in the summertime anyways. As road construction in Alberta only lasts about 6 months, and then I collected unemployment for the remainder, but I figured I'd made enough money to be able to buy a vehicle. So I went vehicle hunting, and I didn't have a whole bunch of people to come with me, so I went and did it on my own, which was my first mistake. Anyways, I ended up finding a truck there's a 97 GMC Sierra. It was an extended cab. It was 4x4. I thought it was awesome, so I went to the bank, and the lady gave me the loan, and it was $430 a month, I think, at that point, which is crazy for a kid who was making, $30,000 a year. Probably shouldn't have a vehicle payment that's $430 a month. And on top of that, my insurance payment was probably around $330, so I was at $800 a month payment on a vehicle before I even got to gas or anything else. Is nuts. Absolutely crazy. I remember bringing that truck to my brother-in-law and my oldest sister and being so proud, and he said, "Jeff, you take that truck back. It's a piece of crap." And there was no way I was taking it back. That was the first thing I'd ever bought for myself, or at least at that point I thought I had bought for myself, but the bank had just loaned me the money to drive it. Anyways, I wasn't taking that truck back. The problem was $3,000 a month in the summertime. It was okay for a $400 vehicle payment, but as I got into the winter, only collecting $1,400, and only having $600 left over after insurance and vehicle payments, it was a real problem. And I'm not proud of this, and I think I may have only told my mom and my wife this, but I was so desperate. I was spending so much money on other crap. Even in the summertime when I was making $3,000 a month, I was paycheck to paycheck, and I didn't have enough money at the end of the month even then, and I was using my credit cards. But as I said before, I probably have only told my mom and my wife this, but I was so desperate for money, or to be able to not use my credit cards. I used to go out in the middle of the night, and I used to try and siphon gas out of other people's vehicles, and it blows my mind that I used to do that. And it's ridiculous for a truck. I did it for a truck payment, and it floors me that I even did that. Anyways, that truck used to break down all the time, and I would fix one thing, and 8, 9, 10 months would go by, and then I'd have to fix that same thing again. And it was just a repetitive course of that same thing happening over and over. And my door wouldn't shut properly, or my starter would go, or my fuel pump would go. A year later, my fuel pump would go. A year later, I'd have to fix that door again. And it was, if I would have just kept that same Dodge Shadow that I had, maybe I would have been better off, maybe not. I might have just been continuing to spend, but I finally paid that truck off, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity for me to go buy another car. And I didn't buy a brand new car. I bought a car that was a year old, and probably a year and a half into owning that car, the steering column went on it. And because I lived paycheck to paycheck and I didn't have enough money to pay for that repair, because I was too busy spending it on other things that I didn't need, like dinners and alcohol and car stereo equipment and you name it, I had to trade that car in, and I had negative equity, so I bought another crappy truck. And that crappy truck, same thing, year after year after year, I would have to repair it and fix it. And I finally was able to pay off that truck, and I got rid of it. And I was married at this point, and you would think at that point I learned my lesson, and I thought I did. I'll just buy a brand new vehicle. So we bought a Volvo XC60, and I think it was around $56,000, and it was $375 bi-weekly, $750 a month. I can't believe I paid that much for a vehicle. You know, after insurance, you're close to $1,000. $1,000 a month to run a vehicle is absolutely crazy. Unbelievable. So I gotta say, I will never, ever own another vehicle that I have to make payments on. I'll pay cash for a vehicle if I have to. Not even if I have to, I will. There's no more payments. I can't do it. Now, to know what it's been like to live without a vehicle payment and to put that money somewhere else and just be able to save up for a vehicle the next time we need one. We still drive that Volvo. It's paid off. I think it's got 105,000 kilometers on it, and we'll probably drive it till it has 200, which is another 5 or 6 years that we'll get out of it. So we save continuously to get that next vehicle, but by far and away that vehicle put me into a tailspin of just bad financial decision after bad financial decision after bad moral decision. I couldn't imagine if I ever would have got caught. It would have ruined my life. So I don't know, that's my story. If you guys have something worse than that, I'd love to hear it, or even if you have something else, I'd love to hear it.